Hello, how are you all doing? Right, first of all, I want to say many thanks to you for looking in, and many thanks to all of those people who've been making comments and with these videos. I'm really grateful, and I'm really grateful for all the people who've been buying my book, You the Sentencer. The sale's going quite well, and I'm really grateful for all these lovely reviews I've been getting. I've been getting 5-star reviews so far, and which is lovely, and I thank you to those people who take the trouble to write these 5-star reviews. Goodness, so nice of you. Anyway, on to today's probation case study. It involves a case from the 1990s, quite a typical one really, as it involves breaking into a car. I shall call our offender Matt. He's 18 years old. He and another broke into a car. Some people saw him. It was about 11 o'clock in the morning on a residential street, and one of the people knew him and pointed him out to the police. They went and arrested him, and he refused to give the name of his co-defendant. From inside the car, they stole some building materials worth about £30. For which he sold for £10 only. Of course, like I've said before, people who receive stolen goods, in the eyes of the law, are just as guilty as those who commit the offence of breaking in and stealing. So, very annoying offence, and it was quite rife in the 1990s. There were lots and lots of people breaking into cars, often to steal the car radio stereo CD players. Also, a lot of people were just simply breaking into cars, taking them for a spin, and then dumping them in a nearby street or whatever. And that was called joyriding. So according to the court, the Crown Prosecution Service, Mr. Taylor had only one previous conviction, and that was for possession of cannabis. But this was in fact incorrect, because according to probation records and to the defendant, he had 2 previous convictions. He had another conviction at another court, and it had never been entered on his record of previous convictions, and it was for another possession of cannabis offence. Now, I recall at the time, it wasn't uncommon for this sort of thing to happen, for people's record of convictions to be incorrect. And in those days, the role of probation officer was more varied. I used to go to court once a week, and I was the court duty officer. And I remember when I was on court duty, having to advise the court that, you know, somebody stood up and said, Mr. So-and-so has no previous convictions. This is his first offence of domestic assault. And I would stand up and say, I'm sorry, Your Worships, it's quite wrong. According to probation records, and I'm sure the court can confirm from its own records, that Mr. So-and-so has 3 previous convictions for domestic assault. Now that's incredible, isn't it? And it sort of raises the height of the seriousness of the offending. It raises the height of the risk of reoffending. It makes the whole scenario different, doesn't it? And how come these record of previous convictions go wrong? I don't know. The other interesting thing was the media and the public weren't really aware of this going on. And I don't think people were particularly interested or shocked, but I was, and I thought it was terrible. So, but that sort of thing was going on in the 1990s. Records of previous convictions weren't always particularly correct. And I did try and find out what was going on. I think somebody told me it was a staffing issue, really, that, they weren't inputting, they didn't have sufficient people inputting, or people weren't inputting it correctly or something. But for me, it's not really acceptable, and for somebody in court to be misleading the magistrates is really wrong, actually. And if they're doing it knowingly, that is really bad. So it's quite difficult for me to have to stand up in court and say, look, this solicitor here, what he's saying is not true or incorrect, you know, and so it wasn't uncommon. The other thing was about this chap, Daniel, was he had outstanding matters appearing in another court as well. And that was for aggravators taking a vehicle without consent. Now that is quite serious offence, and you kind of think, why didn't somebody put all the cases together? You know, so here I am having to write about this offence, and then we're going to have to do another report again about another one. And it's just like, and it makes common sense to put cases together. So, but it hadn't happened. So he's got something quite serious in the pipeline. Now, his background, what stands out was he was expelled from school aged 13 and didn't go to any sort of other establishment or educational establishment. According to him and his family, he went straight into work, age 13. That doesn't sound quite right, does it? But it doesn't sound legit to me. But anyway, apparently, age 13, he started work. And he started work in a garage. And he loved it. Loved motor cars. And age 14, 15, he started doing an MVQ1 in mechanical engineering 1 day a week from the garage. And was happy as Larry. And was doing quite well. Wasn't getting into any trouble. His behaviour was good. He commenced his MVQ level 2, and sadly he starts developing very, very serious dermatitis on his hands. Apparently, I don't know whether it's all that grease or having to wash the grease off with a strong detergent, but something was contributing to him having really bad dermatitis. Why didn't he wear gloves or something? I don't know. But anyway, according to him, he had to stop work, and he started associating with wrong-uns on his estate, bad influences. They were going out drinking, using cannabis, all that kind of thing, breaking into cars, joyriding, no doubt, and things like that, up to no good. And but interestingly, following this offence, breaking into a car and the aggravated taking a vehicle without consent, his parents, his family really kind of rallied around, and it kind of shocked him. And according to him, he stopped drinking altogether, because before that he'd been binge drinking. He stopped drinking altogether, stopped using cannabis, and he don't associate with these terrible people anymore, these bad influences, according to him. And his family helped him get a job with an uncle, doing landscape gardening. And, you know, he's now knuckling under and doing landscape gardening and all that kind of thing. So for me, he seems quite motivated not to reoffend. He, according to the court, what they got in front of him, he's only got one previous conviction, but actually he's got two. And the worrying factor is he's got some more offences in the pipeline. But in this case, I felt, because he seems motivated to stay out of trouble and got a job, I proposed that I kind of said, well, low risk of reoffending. And in view of that, I don't think a probation order probation supervision is worthwhile in this case. And I proposed that he do a medium-term community service order. Now, something I did discuss with him during the interview was I was concerned that he didn't really have a good understanding of how victims feel of, you know, following this sort of offence. And, you know, I've been a victim of this sort of offence myself. And, you know, it's upsetting to have your car broken into. And I don't think he fully appreciated that. And also, he didn't really understand. He just said, oh, well, the insurance paid for that. But actually, you know, these offences push up the whole cost of insurance. And it's a real nuisance factor, because you might have to take time off work to sort your car out. It's upsetting. I mean, well, when it happened to me, I had my car broken into. It was rife during the 1990s. It was happening a lot. I've had it a couple of times, actually. I had a car stereo thing stolen from me, and then another time somebody broke in because I'd left my briefcase on the passenger seat, and somebody broke in and stole that. And that really worried me, because there was nothing of value in there, but I had important personal documents in there. But luckily, these were left in the briefcase, and they dumped it in a neighbouring flat from where I lived nearby. So I was grateful for that. But anyway, interesting though, isn't it, how crimes change? So anyway, he got to do his community service, and I can't recall what happened to him after that, all the other offences. But that's a snapshot from my records, how I dealt with this case. And yeah, times change. The big change, the other factor is, of course, is back in the 1990s, people were being prosecuted for possession of cannabis, and I wonder if that's being let go these days. And I wonder if you know, people's previous records of previous convictions are always correct, because they weren't in the 1990s, and I hope that's improved. And it's a good thing, actually, that all this car crime stopped, mainly because it's made much more difficult. You can't really steal the car stereos anymore, and it's much harder to break into cars, which is quite a learning point, I think, regards crime. And I think, you know, that kind of thing needs to be adopted now to all this internet fraud that's going on. It needs to be made much more difficult to happen, doesn't it? Anyway, thank you very much for looking in on this video. And thank you to all of those who've been buying my book. I'm really grateful to you. And thank you for all those lovely 5-star reviews, and for your interesting comments to these YouTubes. Have a lovely day now. Bye-bye.